Hello, everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're examining a deeply sobering incident that has, once again, brought the absolutely critical issue of women's safety in the national capital right back to the forefront. We're going to be analyzing the chilling events of May 11th involving a private sleeper bus in Delhi, and more importantly, the swift institutional push for accountability that immediately followed. Now, it is a heavy topic for sure, but carefully understanding the facts and the systemic response is absolutely vital. Okay, let's dive into this. First, we'll look at the May 11 incident itself. Second, the arrests and investigation. Third, how the NCW demands answers. And finally, broader transport safety measures. All right, let's begin with our first section, the May 11 incident, and a timeline of the events. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how clearly it maps out the sequence of events according to the victim's complaint, which really provides a crucial framework for the whole investigation. So at approximately 11 p.m., a 30-year-old woman who was just returning from her factory job approached a parked private sleeper bus at Saraswati Vihar simply to ask for the time. Allegedly, she was then dragged inside. Over the next 2 hours, the complaint states she was subjected to an assault by the driver and conductor inside the vehicle, which had its curtains drawn and actually traveled several kilometers toward Nongloy. Post-incident, the victim was thrown out of the bus. She immediately contacted the police, which swiftly led to a medical examination at Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar Hospital and the registration of an FIR at the Rani Bagh police station. Moving right along to Section 2, Arrests and Investigation, where we'll look at the immediate police action. The law enforcement response here was incredibly swift. Delhi police immediately arrested the bus driver, Umesh, and the conductor, Ramendra. Crucially, the Bihar-registered sleeper bus was seized right away for forensic examination, and authorities are currently combing through CCTV footage along the bus's route. The case itself was registered under the relevant sections of the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, or BNS, specifically invoking gang rape provisions. Currently, both accused have been remanded to judicial custody. These specific legal frameworks and forensic steps, they are literally the essential building blocks of a prosecutable case. This brings us to a major institutional intervention. In Section 3, the NCW demands answers, focusing on their push for accountability. To really understand the NCW's involvement, we need to quickly break down a specific legal concept, suo motu cognizans. Basically, this is an action taken by a court or a government agency completely on its own accord, without any formal complaint or request ever being filed. So the National Commission for Women didn't wait around to be petitioned. They saw the reports of this crime and independently stepped in to exercise their oversight powers and demand justice. The gravity of their intervention is captured perfectly in this statement. Let's actually read it together. Crimes of such heinous nature against women are unacceptable and must be dealt with swiftly and sternly in accordance with the law. That's straight from Vijay Rahatkar, the NCW chairperson. It's just a stark, powerful reminder from the institutional level that, well beyond the bureaucratic processes, there is a very human demand for justice here and a complete refusal to normalize these tragedies. So the crucial point is how they actually enforce this demand, and that's through an Action Taken Report, or ATR. An ATR is a comprehensive, formal document detailing the specific actions, investigations, and support measures executed by an authority. And listen, the NCW doesn't just ask for a casual update. They issued a strict 7-day ultimatum to the Delhi police to submit this comprehensive document. This 7-day deadline is highly significant because it forces immediate transparency and completely prevents the investigation from losing any momentum. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly what the NCW expects that Action Taken Report to cover, broken down into 2 essential areas. First, legal and investigative updates. They want to know the FIR details, exactly which BNS provisions were invoked, the custodial status of the arrested individuals, and the status of all that medical and forensic evidence. But equally important is the second column, survivor support and rehabilitation. The Commission recognizes that justice isn't just about punishing the guilty, right? It's about supporting the survivor. They are demanding details on counseling services, legal aid provided, protection protocols, and overall rehabilitation assistance for both the survivor and her family. Furthermore, the NCW's demands extend way beyond just the individuals accused. They are looking very closely at the business operating the vehicle. They're asking, has action been initiated against the bus operator or owner? Were the vehicle's credentials actually verified? Was this private sleeper bus even operating lawfully in the first place? This is a vital push to hold private transport businesses legally accountable for the environment they provide, ensuring that negligence at the corporate level simply does not go unchecked. This focus on systemic accountability naturally leads us to our final topic,
Section 4, Broader Transport Safety Measures.
You see, the NCW directive isn't just backward looking at what already happened, it's distinctly forward looking. They're demanding details on preventative measures to improve women's safety in both public and private transport, particularly during those vulnerable late night hours. This is really about identifying the glaring gaps in the system that allowed this tragedy to occur and demanding long-term systemic changes so that it never happens again. Which leaves us with a critical question to consider as we wrap up this explainer. What concrete, systemic preventative measures can actually be implemented to ensure the safety of women in public and private transport during late-night hours? We've seen the facts of a devastating incident, the swift law enforcement action, and the vital role of institutional oversight demanding accountability. But true justice also means prevention. So as we close today, I highly encourage you to reflect on what institutional reforms are absolutely necessary to ensure safe transit for everyone. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep asking the hard questions.